Hi, I come to be with you at this time in these, indeed changing times of higher and higher energies that are coming in, that are no longer being filtered as much as they were previously, but are being allowed to flow freely into the planet, into the population, into the central nervous systems of more and more people. For the past few months, I've been experiencing strange symptoms at night. Just as I'm about to fall asleep, at the very frontier between awareness and unawareness, I'm often jolted awake by an electric buzz running through my body. And as I try to go back to sleep, I hear these intense monologues. It's my own inner voice. I don't feel any higher energy or presence, but I'm merely a passive observer. These monologues are not necessarily spiritual in nature, and that more and more people are able now to begin to anchor these energies, to hold these energies, and not to be in a sense destroyed by these energies. They can handle them more and more now. You see that happening now more and more across the planet, and know that it is happening more and more. More and more people are able to again hold and anchor these energies and then spread the energies. And as they are doing that, it is creating what you would call a division between those of more of the darkness and those of the light. And of course, there are those in the middle realm, those that are not of dark and not fully of the light yet, but are moving in that way. Moving in that expression, the same awakening that each of you have had and are continuing to have. Sometimes what I hear is trivial, other times it's incredibly funny. In my waking state, I couldn't write things as witty or well-structured. I've even written down a few of these monologues just to make my friends laugh. Some are absurd, others thought-provoking, but not always accurate when I fact-check later. And occasionally, they are strikingly deep or even prophetic. I believe this message can serve as a catalyst. There is no ultimate truth outside of ourselves. If it sparks some healthy self-reflection, that's all I can hope for. Please do not believe this message. I do not believe it myself. I'm not saying that it's unrealistic to expect galactic intervention or spiritual events. That's just what my subconscious mind chatting said, and I'm just sharing it. You are all awakening more and more to who you are. And yes, indeed, these energies can create quite a shift and change within you. A shift in consciousness within you. 1 minute you can hold these energies and feel them and be high up in the heavens in a sense, in a blissful feeling. And the next you can fall back into what might be considered a quagmire. Being held back, held down, but then to rise again once more. And that is what you are all going through at this point. 1 minute up, the next down, the next up, the next down. But more and more you're going to find, and more of you are finding now, that you can hold these vibrations longer and longer, these higher vibrations longer and longer, to hold and anchor the light more and more and more, and not fall back so much. And even if you do fall back, you quickly realize it. You quickly know that you have indeed fallen back and can now rise above it. Rise up once again to the higher levels of consciousness of who you are, and I say who you are. Not who you are becoming, who you already are. You have never not been that higher level of consciousness. It is just your mind and your programming that have held you back from realizing and remembering fully who you are. We come to set the record straight. You are indeed in the midst of a very intense process, what some call ascension or harvest. For some time now, we have observed many well-intentioned channeled messages promising wondrous things with a recurring soon. While well-meaning, these messages are often influenced by the expectations of the channelers themselves. Although short-term hope can momentarily lift your spirits or increase motivation, we have noticed that it often leads to a stronger sense of discouragement afterward. It is natural to experience ups and downs in this process. In fact, it would be unrealistic to expect constant enthusiasm and excitement. That is not what is asked of you. The fluctuations you experience are part of the journey. While we encourage you to cultivate what uplifts you, we do not recommend placing short-term expectations on external events to bring relief. The brief burst of hope often lead to deeper pits of disappointment. Instead, we urge you to connect with your own power. As the saying goes, patience is the mother of virtues. Short-term hope alone is not a stabilizer. While we do not expect you to navigate these times with perfect stability, finding as much balance as possible will benefit you. Hope, when balanced with realism, becomes a true source of strength. So allow the energies, know that they are coming in. Know that there are many reasons for these energies coming in terms of planetary alignments. In terms of lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, whatever it is all coming together as one to bring about these, what have been called timeline shifts. And indeed, these times are changing and are shifting. And as the timeline shift, as you continue to move up into the higher vibrational frequencies and higher consciousness, then you begin to have those experiences where you may be seeing into other dimensional frequencies, where you may be feeling higher levels of consciousness at various times. So allow it to be, allow it to happen. And even if the energies tend to, as you might say, kick your butts, that is okay. Let it happen. Let it be, and then rise again. Always rise again to meet the next day, to meet the next moment, however that might turn out for you. We are not saying that nothing will come from the outside. Indeed, much can be expected, including challenges at first. However, those who are prepared, though they may feel confused, will also experience a deepened sense of purpose and motivation. That said, we do not foresee a radical ascension event in your near future, not this year, not next year, nor even in the lifetimes of many currently incarnated. We are sorry to say this, but ascension is a process, not a date. Focusing too much on an external event only hinders your progress. Likewise, we do not see a mass landing occurring in the short term. Humanity is not yet ready. Many would react in fear, while others would fall into admiration or veneration, which would be counterproductive. While such an occurrence is more likely in your future than an ascension event, it remains unlikely within the next few years. Direct contact has happened in your past, and the results were, for the most part, counterproductive. Ascension is about empowerment, not about being saved by an external force. It is in your best interest not to hold on to unrealistic expectations. We understand that this message may temporarily lower your motivation, but we believe that true upliftment must come from within if you so choose. Do not blame the messengers who share perspectives from higher levels of consciousness. There is no such thing as a pure channel. Most do their best with good intentions, including this very message. Instead, we encourage you to trust your own inner knowing. Just continue to move forward. Continue to rise to the occasion. You might say, rise to the energies and allow them to transform you. I leave you now in peace and love and oneness, and that you continue indeed to rise and continue to move forward in the moment to moment, always moving forward, moment to moment. Some individuals whether inspired by selfless or self-serving motives, may act in ways that influence your collective experience. But ultimately, it is not about what they do or don't do. Everything in your reality is a catalyst for your growth. As the vibrational frequencies increase, these catalysts will become more intense and collective in nature. Do not become too attached to external manifestations, and do not expect salvation from outside forces, least of all from politicians. We recognize that many of you are exhausted. This constant cycle of short-term hope and soon messages is not helping you. Instead, we invite you to turn inward. Use the catalysts available to you. There are many. Relationships, both intimate and general, are among the most powerful catalysts of all. It is unrealistic to expect a sudden, radical transformation. You are well into the process, and you are now entering a new, more intense phase, but it is far from over. Take ownership of your power and responsibility. You did not come here to be saved. You came here to serve. You did not come here to judge those you call sleepers. You came to awaken them not through preaching, but by being who you are. Remember your calling. You are not expected to be perfect. You are not expected to be in a state of constant inner peace. What is expected, what you expected of yourself, is to walk the path, to be the path. And the path is not a straight line.